when bad can be good. This is who I am, Darryl Foy. This presentation is to just introduce you to an example-based way of attacking the problem of taking behavioural science findings and research work and turning it into something actionable and real by way of software. At Morton Lawson, we do our work based on a framework of evidence and established theories, married to emerging design models which are specific to public health and behaviour issues, best operationalised through software. The problem we're going to look at today is the one of abandonment of exercise wearable devices. As this graph shows you, it's a major issue. Fitbit relies on 79% of all of its sales to be new sales. It's likely to be 20% of returning customers contribute to the bottom line on a year in, year out basis. We base our work, as I said before, on a number of different theories. The first of these is the self-determination theory, the second being a trans-theoretical model. And in terms of emerging design models, we use persuasive system design, another system which is quite a mouthful, so I'll just call it SEPIA. And we try and combine the most feasible elements of nudge theory and other techniques. So we have a grab bag of things which are pliable enough to be fitted to the right problem. It's not just a one hat fits all approach. When we look at this issue of exercise abandonment, we have to work out what the hell Fitbit thought they were trying to do from the outset. And let's make no bones about it. Fitbit are in the business of making money and not in the business of making a difference. For exercise to be an effective intervention in any major public health issues such as any of the pre-diabetic and type 2 non-insulin dependent diabetes forms, cardiovascular disease, depression, anxiety and other mental health issues, it has to be sustainable. And abandonment of exercise interventions are just as common as abandonment of Fitbit devices because they fail to, both interventions, including Fitbit devices, fail to understand what contribution design makes to adherence and sustainability. Ryan and Gecky, the proponents of self-determination theory, made it pretty clear that motivation for sustainable exercise is made possible by satisfaction of three basic needs: autonomy, competence, and relatedness to others. If we're going to come up with a solution to this Fitbit problem, we're going to need to pick different design elements from a number of models. Because as I said before, there is no silver bullet. I always speak in the parlance of Nur Ayal and other contemporaries who are making a tabloid distillation of behavioural science theory and making a fistful of money out of it. We need to try and glean the most practical principles from these models and apply them. Now, the problem we're trying to address is that when people wear a Fitbit device and sync it, then that is the trigger. It's a trigger for a behavioural intervention that's intended to create a habit. So the way we've designed our software is when somebody syncs their data it opens up the Zing app, which is the name of our app. And what you then have is a boundless proximity, if you like, between the action, I've worn my device and now it's gone off to the cloud, and oh Christ, I can actually, someone's going to talk to me about what that means and help guide me through how to make the most of that information. So when people wear these devices, by and large, when we look at the normal distribution, many of them are faced with confusion. What really am I doing with this? Why do I need it? Loneliness. Okay, I've worn this and I may or may not have done it in a group exercise situation. And indecision. Okay, now I've done it. What do I do with it? What do I do with all this data? With all those little emails with badges saying I've climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Yeah, fantastic. And what we understand from behaviour is that people always favour hope over fear, pleasure over pain, and acceptance over rejection. And so when designing software that's in close proximity to this experience of wearing a device and uploading the data, well, we want to provide people with pleasure, with hope, and social acceptance through the app itself. Now, this is the first of a number of screens that we'll look at from the app. We won't look at all of them. We'll just have a look at a few of them to give you some sort of insight into how we go about designing things and why we do them this way based on evidence. This screen is what we call Do Today. The way that the app actually works is that the user downloads it, they'll get a free 7-day exercise plan, and they can contact one of our exercise scientists or exercise physiologists, and they can get a subsequent 7-day or 28-day exercise plan, which is incredibly detailed, includes videos, all the information they require, along with a state-of-the-art chat messaging group analysis system, which is part of our architecture. So when they log on, they sync their data, they're using Zing, they'll show them what they're meant to be doing today and what they've done the last 7 days by way of either doing it, having a rest, or skipping a session. When we look at specific models for this particular screen, as part of the app, from persuasive system design, firstly, we apply what's called as reduction design. We've tried to compress information streams and actions into a single elegant screen design. I'm meant to be doing something today. I'm either going to do it, not do it, or I might swap it with something else I've got planned. I want to be able to see what it is I'm meant to be doing, if need be. I want to have a quick look at what I've done the last week. Just give me some self-regulatory feedback on how I'm tracking. Now, bear in mind, and it's not shown here, is there is a pervasive slide draw menu, which is available with a click on the little 3 white horizontal lines at the top of the screen. And that will allow people single-click access to talking to our EPs, talking to their friends, working out and reviewing what we call their Zing score. The objective of Zing is to just sustain exercise, so their Zing score is something that gives them some idea of how compliant they've been, how they're using the system, how well, how consistently they're exercising. Another score is called Ping, we looked at their social and emotional elements. The other functions available on on the menu include progress, looking at how the plan's going against progress, and there's, as we'll see, in situ comparisons against people's own past behaviour, the performance and behaviour of their profile peers, people of the same age, gender, and BMI, and also how they compare with their friends ranking-wise. And the other thing that we provide is a thing called a dojo, where they learn to help them become autonomous. So, getting back to this screen, we've compressed a lot of functionality into one single element. It's very easy to follow and use. It's very personalised. The plan is individually written by a clinical, degree-qualified exercise scientist or physiologist. So it's state-of-the-art, it's applicable, and it's highly individual. So we use personalisation. Obviously, by having the ever-present messaging system, which we'll see through some of the other screens, there's always relatedness to others inbuilt into the app from the get-go and right throughout the system. Now, I mentioned a design model called Sepia. We use elements of Sepia design. The 7-day tracker helps contribute to the user's understanding of their own behaviour. The system will also generate a message that if they've got 2 or more crosses in their app, in their screen, which tells them that they've missed a couple of sessions in the last 7 days, then it will explain to them what the effect of that is on their Zing score and on their performance and their fitness goals. What's important here, and I touch on it in the notes there, is by being able to do skip or swap, we're helping encourage autonomy. Remember, in the self-determination theory, which is our overarching modus operandi for everything we design and build for others, is that we're encouraging autonomy by offering people choices. Not a basket of choices, but a constrained number of choices, which is also consistent with elements of the nudge theory, of course. And here we can give them the ability to do the session today, commit to it, skip it, or swap, which pops up a little calendar which allows them to change days if they like. So it allows them that freedom of choice which fits with their actual in situ context for that day. Something unexpected may have come up, for example, such as illness, a work commitment, or a family commitment. So it provides some flexibility using these persuasive design models. As well, we make some use, as I say, there's an alert function there if they skip sessions. And so what we have here in one compact screen is a design that encourages autonomy, self-regulation, and that helps contribute to the individual becoming self-determined as an exerciser. Now, the next screen shows you Zing and Ping. These 2 scores are done or calculated dynamically from a complex machine learning algorithm, which is our own, which looks at how the user is performing. You know, are they progressing? No point doing it if there's no progress. And we want to be able to do that in a very simple numeric way. A lot of complex math to try and represent something in a dynamic composite score, but we believe we've done a reasonable job of that. And so the Zing score really looks at the individual's exercise persistence, things like their volume and intensity, more importantly, how regular they've been with their sessions, whether they've been sticking to the plan that's been devised by Zing. And they can also see how that compares to what they've done in the past. And the Ping score is to do with social connectedness and self-affirmation, like social media actions such as liking and sharing, use of the chat system, and self-affirmations, liking their own exercise. In terms of how we've applied specific design models here, again, we provide reductionism by way of a very simple, clear, easy to read, easy to understand set of numbers. Of course, each of those numbers has a rollover tip So if they roll the cursor over it, the finger over it, it'll give us an explanation of what the score means and how what the user does affects that score. Obviously, the score is highly personalised. And in terms of the social design features of the persuasive assisted design model, we have social learning, comparison. Not only am I comparing users' score to their profile peers, but also their friends on the system. And there's recognition there using the simple numbers. From the nudge theory, we use social conformity and anchoring via the score comparisons. We're also using priming, using the screen to help prime them for sustained positive exercise behaviour, and some delicate visual framing. The users' individual scores are larger and clearer than that of their peers and friends. So even if real terms they currently have a lower score than the comparative numbers, it still is positively affirmed and represented. Again, from Sepia, we help contribute to users' understanding or intelligibility of their behaviour and the causality with outcomes by showing how they're tracking in the last 7 days. We can also see, we can also reveal positive online social behaviour, making it observable by showing their friends' scores and activity. And we're also providing a form of discovery in that the user gets to see the correlation between their exercise and the scoring system. Now, one of the glaring omissions from a lot of these so-called exercise apps is a meaningful implementation of advanced machine learning. A lot of people go to websites and read stuff and feel like machine learning is the way to go. Very few have the mathematical talent and aptitude to do it. We have. It's a building stone, a foundation of what we do. The trick is being able to, as design engineers, being able to operationalise that in a simple way based on the lowest common denominator level of comprehension from the user audience. And so we have a thing we call tweak, which gives the user the ability to tweak some of the measures used to generate their Zing and Ping scores. This particular screen looks at Zing. There's another screen for Ping score as well. And it's really simply a matter of the user sliding each of those controls, one or more of those controls, either positively or negatively, to understand what happens if any of those factors go up or down by way of effort from the individual. So if they skip sessions, how does it affect their Zing score? Because a little animation will dynamically alter the score and explain that change to them. What happens if they exercise in particular heart rate zone or workout intensities? What happens if they increase the volume of exercise minutes? How does that affect their score? The focus here is on causality and priming the user towards those really important needs that need to be satisfied by way of their autonomy and their competence for exercise. So in terms of design models, again, we use reductionism by way of the design. And it's hard to make something which has such complex math in the background any simpler than that. If there's another way, by all means, share it with me. Naturally enough, it's personalised in terms of persuasive system design. It's completely tailored to the individual's exercise actuals from their Fitbit data and their plan as done by an exercise scientist. This isn't some bollocks provided by some giant publicly listed firm in the States. This is high fidelity presented in a simple, clear manner. What we provide by way of persuasive system design as well, of course, is the ability to simulate and rehearse. For a user to be able to say, what happens if So it provides them with a barrage of what-if scenarios, both for the exercise Zing score and the social and emotional ping scoring. Now, what's not shown in this particular screen, but the system generates, are some suggestions. So as the slider goes up or down the scale, there are little information tips generated that explain to the user how they can do to improve scores along each of those controls. From the nudge theory, obviously we've got a very strong feedback mechanism. We're clearly priming the user for sustained positive exercise behaviour by providing the function to actually visualise positive and negative outcomes from changes. In terms of framing, beautiful, clear framing, the animation, which can't be shown dynamically here, but that allows the square with the number in it to grow or contract according to changes on the slide controls. And this has a great deal of sympathy for the user, for the individual. Changes are mirrored in a benign manner. So it's sympathetic to the user situation. They ultimately have control over what's being generated in a non-threatening way. So in a sepia sense, a sepia design sense, we contribute to user understanding of behaviour and their ability to affect it positively or negatively. We provide discovery. It's like a Lego set. They can build outcomes, potential outcomes. The user sees a correlation between their exercise and online sociability behaviour and efforts and their actual scoring. So we're providing learnability through experimentation according to a sepia model. Our next screen is our dojo. Now, there's a world of content about health and exercise on the internet. There's no excuses for people not to engage with it, I guess, given its voluminous nature. And it varies in quality, accessibility, and affordability. And we believe one of the major issues, if we go back to the start of this presentation, one of the major issues that users have with exercise using these devices is this whole thing about being confused, a bit unsure of what to do, a little bit lonely and isolated, is that there's a lack of context. You know, exercise is medicine. It's not just a matter of going to, a personal trainer jumping up and down on the spot and thinking, I mean, that's not going to do a great deal of harm, depending on contraindicators around potential comorbidities, etc., with the individual. But bottom line is, if you're going to engage with these devices and you want to keep using it or have some hope of continuing to use it, then hey, have some context. And if you're going to provide context, do it through a professional, academically qualified scientist, supported by content which is dynamically generated, which is no more than 8 to 10 lines, or a small video that runs for 1:30 or less, or a SoundCloud podcast that runs for 2 to 3 minutes or less. And this is what the dojo is. It's a dynamic learning environment for the individual user of Zing. It's optional. Zing is full of choices. Not a million choices, a basket of choices. We're constraining choices to 2 or 3 of every element of decision making. But that's consistent with what nudge theory and the rest tells us, for example. So here the people read, listen to, watch the content. They complete little quizzes there by clicking on the motorsport icon, and they pass enough of these quizzes satisfactorily, then they get belts from the dojo, which show their level of understanding. So obviously, from a self-determination perspective, we're actively, dynamically, and simply facilitating the ability for users to become autonomous through their knowledge of exercise and exercise design application and sustainability, and we're improving their level of competence. The next tree refers to notices. The system is extremely dynamic. Here it will tell the user when their Zing plan's due for renewal. It normally lights up. They get a little alert, which you may have seen in the other screens, a little alarm clock on the top of the screen, which basically says you've got something on your notice board. And on this notice board, it says that the plan is due for renewal on the 9th of November. And that, as I say, the alert is all pervasive through the app. You need to click on the alert, go to the notice screen and act on what's being brought to their attention. You see a little icon there for data and someone's name and a date and time. That shows the user if a friend has synced their Fitbit data onto the app, so they'll know that someone else has exercised. This is all part of looking at normative influence, facilitating social learning, and obviously looking at things like competition. The next one shows you that there are friends online who are there ready to chat in the chat rooms. We also have, of course, the dojo. When there's fresh content in the dojo, it's dynamically generated. So myself as a doctor of health science, behavioural science, master of exercise science, etc., I generate a lot of data using e-learning for the dojo. So if there's something fresh in there, they get alerted. You see a little heart icon there with a little graph through it. That's called RHR, resting heart rate. There's an algorithm there that detects aberrations in the resting heart rate that comes from the Fitbit data. Bottom line is there's something that's potentially negative to their health, then they get alerted to the notices, as does the Zing exercise clinician. You'll see the little bling icon because there's a little algorithm in the background which says Zing and ping may bring you bling. And we design our system based on the latest in evidence-based research, which says that if you're going to offer rewards, they need to be variable-based rewards based on variable ratios, and that the user must define their preference for reward type when they sign up at registration. So, from a self-determination perspective, again, we have autonomy, confidence, and relatedness well and truly covered here. In terms of the other design models that we use, reductionism, it's a beautiful compact screen with a lot of information simply presented. It's obviously highly personalised because it's individual's data. It is clear and consistent self-monitoring, very robust, very comprehensive. It's covering a number of different dynamics on the social, personal, performance, achievement, health basis. The screen provides up-to-the-minute notification of achievement, performance, and social activity. From a design perspective, the system itself has a social role. It's acting as the user's personal assistant by coordinating all those streams of data that come in a really simple way that's easily actionable. The other thing that's not evident here, because again it's system generated pop-ups, but there's explanations of resting heart rate, explanations of each of those notice types when the user hovers over it. Now, this whole notice dynamic is based around the reminder and suggestion principles of persuasive system design. And we'll also apply the Zeigarnik and goal gradient effects, evidenced here by the plan renewal. Both these effects are used to remind the user when their current plan will expire, and that their bling reward coupons also have an expiry date for redemptions. So those other social design principles are also implemented in this particular screen. So that's a very quick run through of how we apply different elements from design models to an application for, in this case, behaviour change support. Couch that in terms of an overarching health behaviour theory, which is, in this instance, self-determination theory. We also use the trans-theoretical model. It's horses for courses. So the takeaways for you listening is, we'll let you know that we've already been testing Zing to a cohort, a mixed bag cohort of Fitbit users. They love the UI, it's likable, it's not obstructionist, it helps them achieve what they want to achieve, doesn't get in the way. They love the power of the tweaking, they love the convenience of having a highly qualified person at their disposal for what is effectively a pittance. And they like the reward system that they can have preferences, and that it's that Skinner-esque model of variable rewarding based on an algorithm that we created. Bottom line is it encourages repeated use. So whether we're talking about exercise, conserving water, conserving electricity, bushfire prevention, female empowerment in the workplace and in exercise, our capability can be readily applied to any of those sorts of behavioural situations. And the actual nitty-gritty, the intellectual property, architectural stack and code base are designed for reuse across problem domains, which means it makes turnaround of seemingly very complex apps time-boxed and quite quick. And with this, in this particular app, it's designed such that it's very extensible. We're ready and able to plug in a variety of different wearable APIs and health device APIs. So our bottom line is that we turn agency-based behavioural research into marketable apps, using a team expertise that's world-class in terms of behaviour systems design, machine learning and software delivery. And we do it at real-world rates. Process is easy. There's no high ceremony. We're not interested in total bullshit, wasting our time or yours. And we don't deal with rudeness. We don't deal with arrogance. We don't engage with people who have that inclination. We don't need to. You engage with us, you do so politely, you do so with respect, and you do so in a collaborative manner with a sense of humour, and we can do wonderful things. So we talk, we review. From an agency, we look at what the research is, we look at the numbers. We might touch base again with the original consumers in conjunction with the agency. We do a thing called mock and spin, low fidelity prototyping, classic modern UX and agile design and build techniques. And we try to build it as a team. Thanks for listening. Got any questions? You can find me through these various means.